Stand at the edge of the ocean at night. There is no wall, no boundary, no visible end. The surface stretches into blackness, reflecting nothing. You hear waves moving, but you cannot see what moves beneath them. You know that below that thin, shifting skin of water lies depth, cold, immense, silent depth. And somewhere in that depth, your imagination begins to form shapes. Something enormous, something ancient, something waiting. Across civilizations, sea monsters have risen from this darkness. The kraken pulling ships into spirals of foam, Leviathan twisting beneath the waves, serpents coiling around entire oceans. Even today, modern cinema resurrects the terror in films like Jaws, where a single unseen predator beneath the surface becomes pure existential dread. But sea monsters are not simply products of sailors' exaggerations. They are psychological symbols, manifestations of humanity's unconscious fear of death. To understand why, we must first understand water. Water is life. Every civilization began near it. Every human body is composed largely of it. But deep water is also one of the most dangerous environments we encounter. We cannot breathe in it. We cannot see clearly in it. We lose orientation in it. The moment we fall beneath the surface, we are no longer dominant creatures. We are vulnerable. The ocean represents the unknown in its purest form. Unlike forests or mountains, the sea hides its depths completely. You cannot gauge distance. You cannot measure what lies below with your eyes alone. The surface appears calm even when danger lurks beneath. Psychologically, this mirrors the unconscious mind. Depth psychology, particularly in the work of Carl Jung, often uses the ocean as a metaphor for the unconscious. The surface is consciousness, thin, visible, controlled. The depths contain instincts, fears, forgotten memories, primordial drives. The sea monster emerges from that depth. It is not random, it is what the mind projects into the unknown. Death shares similar qualities with the ocean. It is inevitable, yet mysterious. We know it exists, but we cannot fully perceive it. Like deep water, it is a threshold we cannot return from once crossed. And like drowning, death is often imagined as being pulled downward, away from light, into silence. Many ancient myths link sea creatures directly with chaos and mortality. In the Hebrew Bible, Leviathan represents primordial chaos subdued by divine power. In Norse mythology, Jörmungandr encircles the world, destined to rise during Ragnarok, the apocalypse. In Greek myth, sea monsters like Scylla devour sailors, punishing those who venture too far from safe shores. These myths reflect a collective anxiety. The farther we travel from known land, symbol of stability, the closer we approach annihilation. Sailors historically feared the open ocean not just because of storms, but because of disappearance. Ships vanished without trace, no body returned, no explanation remained. The sea swallowed evidence. That act of swallowing became symbolic of death itself. Notice how often sea monsters devour whole. They do not wound and leave, they consume entirely. This mirrors the finality of death. To be swallowed by the ocean is to be erased. There is also the fear of size. Sea monsters are almost always colossal, vast tentacles, massive jaws, bodies larger than ships. The exaggeration expresses scale difference between human fragility and cosmic indifference. Standing before something incomprehensibly large reminds us of our smallness. Death, too, feels larger than the individual. Modern science has mapped much of the Earth, but even today, large portions of the deep ocean remain unexplored. Strange creatures, bioluminescent, alien in appearance, still surface occasionally, reminding us that reality itself contains forms once considered mythical. That ambiguity sustains the archetype. In cinema, directors understand that what is unseen is more terrifying than what is revealed. In Jaws, the shark is barely visible for much of the film. The tension comes from what swims beneath the boat, beneath the swimmer's feet. The water becomes a screen onto which viewers project their own fears. The sea monster is powerful because it cannot be fully seen. This connects directly to existential fear. Humans fear not just pain, but uncertainty. Death is terrifying not solely because of suffering, but because of what we do not know lies beyond. In dreams, water often represents emotion. Being dragged underwater can symbolize being overwhelmed by grief, by anxiety, by despair. The monster in that water becomes the embodiment of those submerged feelings. It rises when ignored too long. Culturally, sea monsters often guard thresholds. They appear at the edge of maps, in unexplored territories labeled, "Here be dragons." They mark the boundary between known world and chaos. Death functions similarly. It is the ultimate boundary of experience. But there is another layer. Water is also womb-like. It surrounds, encloses, carries. Some psychologists suggest that fear of deep water may partially echo prenatal memory, floating in amniotic fluid, suspended in darkness. If birth is emergence from water into light, then death can symbolically appear as the reverse, a return to depth. The sea monster then becomes the guardian of that return. It is not merely predator, it is threshold keeper. Even in contemporary culture, the ocean floor is imagined as alien territory. Space exploration often draws parallels with deep sea exploration. Both are hostile environments. Both contain unknown forms of life. Both symbolize humanity's confrontation with the vast and indifferent universe. Ultimately, sea monsters endure because they externalize a truth we rarely confront directly. We are surface beings. We live in light, in air, in visible structures. But beneath us, physically and psychologically, lie depths we cannot fully control. And at the deepest layer waits the one certainty we all share. The ocean reminds us of that certainty every time we look at it and realize we cannot see the bottom. The monster is simply the shape our fear takes when it rises. And perhaps the most unsettling realization is this: the ocean does not need a monster to be deadly, it only needs depth. And depth alone is enough to awaken our unconscious fear of death.